Big changes coming to the BCL and a Pioneer League recap on this week's episode of the IndyCar Report podcast. We're back, episode number 367 of the IndyCar Report podcast with people that know a little something about ball. And one person that's a fan of Kesha. Ryan, explain.
Oh, I'm not the Kesha fan, so I can explain that much right there.
How could you not like Kesha?
It's just, I don't know, I have taste.
It's an S with a dollar sign in her name.
That's how you know.
Class. It costs $40 to see Kesha and Kesha vibe. You should be doing that.
I can't even contend in this conversation.
That pun's for you, Shep. Don't worry. We'll get to you later. So it's been a fun week for ball. There's news. There's a Pioneer League review, which I'm sure we're both very adequately prepared for. And we've definitely didn't discuss anything to the contrary 5 minutes ago. But yes, we have actual live baseball. BCL's happening. There's some interesting developments around that. I feel obligated to talk about broadcasting agreements with the American Association, as enthralling as the conversations is going to be to most of you. And we do have a little bit of expansion news as well. So we got a decent little slate before us today.
Yeah, and I've been getting Red Pocket Mobile ads in my YouTube algorithm. So I'm already coming in pretty keyed into the Pioneer League wavelength here.
Oh, hell yeah. You got some Pocket Rocket mobile ads?
Yeah, what's his face from Shark Tank?
O'Leary?
No, not
Cuban.
One. No,
Damon Jones.
The other. Maybe is that him? Let me see.
This
Damon John, yeah.
Okay, close enough. I haven't watched Shark Tank in years. But
Yeah, well, anyway, more on that another time, I'm sure.
Ryan will cover something unsavory. That's his Pablo Torre aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
As though anyone that's on Shark Tank is a morally upstanding character.
Fair enough.
That includes the entrepreneurs, by the way. But, we're going to be entrepreneurial in our discussion here on the BCL. We'll give you a quick recap of the tournament so far, quick preview going into the weekend, and then talk a little bit about the future they have planned for this tournament. Kane County so far started off 2-0. Victories over Mexico, I believe it's Rojo Diablo, and Taiwan's brothers. I don't know the full name. They just keep getting referred to as brothers. So good for them.
You're fine. Yeah.
And so far, they scored a combined 20 runs, giving up 17. So it doesn't seem like a bit of a pitching need not apply type of deal here, but it also could just be the fact of down in Mexico, the ball does fly further, so that does increase some offense. They got a couple more games, and they are all but a lock for the title match on Sunday. So that's exciting to look forward to if you are a BCL fan. They have Cuba and Nicaragua on Friday and Saturday as well.
Yeah, I really haven't been, for reasons we've talked about, I'm not going to rehash it now, just have not been super locked in. I did hear they had a first inning that went an hour and 10 minutes today. Yeah. I think like 10-6 or something after the first inning.
Hell yeah. Was this the Mets and Pirates?
I think I pointed out before, like, the tough timing on this thing. But I did gloss over doing this tournament, like, basically throughout the opening day /week/weekend for Major League Baseball is utterly insane. All right.
That is admittedly bad timing.
It's crazy is what it is. But like, I know that the hands are tied.
Elite Eight weekend is something too.
Yeah, it's just like, okay. I don't know. Again, like the concept, every bit of the execution makes you scratch my head a little bit.
At the risk of seeming like I'm shilling for the American Association, which admittedly, given the bracket challenge I'm doing, would be probably a fair accusation to make, if not incorrect. But still, Some would call it ironic posting. Others would just say shilling. I don't really know. I just find it funny. That's really the motivation behind a lot of this stuff. But more to my point, I did watch a good chunk of the first game against the Mexican club. And I will say, I thought the production value was pretty strong. I liked the camera angles. I liked the camera work on it. I don't know who's producing that, but it was very professional looking. It reminded me a lot of a major league telecast in the way that they were cutting between angles and whatnot. And even if it isn't an American Association produced thing, which I don't think it would be, I imagine it'd be on whoever the home club stadium is, which I assume would fall under LMB. And I assume it'd be, what's it? World Baseball Softball Confederation,
Yeah,
I think
like
runs it. Yeah. I think it's WBSC. If I have the abbreviations right, if I got that right, I'll be very happy with myself. But any event, I assume they would be in charge of running that in conjunction with the participating leagues. In any event, I thought that looked very good. The audio seemed a little bit off, but I kind of assumed that the American Association did not send broadcasters down there. I assumed they were kind of doing it remote, which if that was the case, it's pretty solid for remote. Mm-hmm. If it was in person, then I would like to see that get cleaned up a bit. Missed today's game against Taiwan, because obviously I was not there. If you followed the socials, you'll probably would have guessed that I was at the Met game instead for opening day. But regardless, I'll probably tune in for at least a bit of the Cuba game, and I'll probably tune in for Nicaragua and possibly a title match, depending on when that is, like time and everything there. But yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty good. Admittedly, I was also watching that while I was very tired, so I did fall asleep during the one inning where it was a 7-4 game, I believe it was. And when I woke up, I was like, oh, damn, there's 14 runs on that board now. And I saw they were beating up. Yeah. I also saw that they were beating up Justin Courtney. In fact, I believe that was one of the last things I remember seeing before I fell asleep at around 11 o'clock. Woke up at 11:40. I was like, oh, it's 11:40. I got to go to bed, actually, because I got to get up for work in the morning. So.
Oh, yeah. God forbid. I mean, it's exactly 11:40 now, but let's start recording a podcast. What's wrong with us?
Yeah, but this is for me now. So everyone else should bend to that. Any event. Yeah, I thought the production value was pretty good. I thought the quality of play wasn't bad. I am kind of sad I missed the Max Murphy cannon throw. That one I would have liked to see happen live, but is what it is. Generally, I think it's not too bad. Again, the issue's always been like a lot of All-Star teams are showing up here trying to claim this $200,000. But
I will say, last week I referenced like, oh, I should see if the American Association is the only team doing that. I did a little bit of legwork. It's all of them, it would seem, unless like I have bad rosters from the prior season. But this is sort of a every team enterprise right now, sort of patching together rosters with the best guys you can get your hands on.
Which does diminish a Champions League a little bit, but
yeah.
I mean, we had a little bit of an off-pod convo about this where it's like, it's almost a chicken and the egg situation where you have guys that aren't willing to stick around for a fairly new tournament that lacks some prestige, but you're only going to get prestige if you have the top level talent and is consistently competitive and it means something. But how can it mean something without being prestige or without top level talent? So it's kind of a catch-22 that you find yourself in when it comes to this thing, which is always the natural challenge of starting anything, I suppose. But it's not a hate that we're saying. It's just like more or less a recognition of the situation.
Right. Yeah. And we get that there's sort of a future vision here, but it's just sort of, yeah, the early years are going to be tough and they got to kind of grind through them. They're certainly missing some things, but again, I like the concept. It's just, what are we going to do with this to bring it to the next level? Which is, it's going to be difficult for sure. Yeah. I don't know. It's also tough when, you know, they're playing midday weekday games in a country where neither team playing is from that country. So like there's no crowd going. You're like, oof, all right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in fairness, we have stuff in this country that should be more important that they put in a midday weekday neutral site event.
Yeah,
Looking at you, NCAA hockey.
I mean, I'm with you. It's just I have so many thoughts on the whole thing. I think there's a way to do it. I see that there's a vision on it, but it's really hard to engage with currently in a way that's meaningful. Especially, it's really hard to engage with it when the players involved, like it's just not, they don't seem super invested, obviously, if a lot of them aren't even playing. And sure, the guys who are there are invested, but the cards on the table, I mean, talking to the guys who won before and talking to guys who didn't win before, the guys who won before, like, yeah, man, it actually meant a lot, like, yada, yada. The guys who didn't win are like, yeah, whatever. So I don't know. I think,
I mean, like, I see that, but also at the same point in time, of course, if you win, you're going to care about it. Of course, if you didn't win, you're like, oh, I didn't care at all. Just preseason tournament.
Sure. I mean, but on the same side, if you win something, you're more likely to inflate the value of it. Sure. So I think there's a bit of both. That's all. Yeah. I'm not saying it's useless or worthless. And again, I am rooting for it. It's just in its current form, it's tough to engage with, even as somebody who is rooting for it and understands that supporting it now can have dividends down the road. I still am just having trouble getting into it.
All right. We'll talk a little bit more about the down the road vision for this thing. It seems that they're going to be expanding it. They're going to be adding some more tournaments to it, having an Asian and European version of it that would include a Japanese team as well. The goal is to have both of those up and running by 2030. So a fairly tight timeline. You figure that's only 3 more editions of this tournament away before that timeline would hit. In 27, 28, 29 would be the 3 leading up to it. The European one's supposedly going to get going at some point soon. I think they were saying they're shooting for this year. I would be more inclined to believe next year is more reasonable. Mm-hmm. Although that one's slightly different. As opposed to having group play into a final match. The European one's going to have a group stage in May and then a knockout stage in September. So that's more interesting there. But like I said, it's going to be in the Netherlands and Germany. We're going to have those games which seem to make sense from a baseball perspective. Maybe having Italy involved would have made some sense too, but Germany and the Dutch seem to be the most logical places to go with it. I don't really know quite what to make of it. I think the quality of play in Europe is still coming along to the point where they would be a viable contender. I do like it from a grow the game perspective, though. I think that kind of Champions League format's a little bit easier to take root in Europe, where you're familiar with it. There's a lot of pride around it, and there's a lot of history around that kind of a thing. In the same way where if you have bracket tournaments to just about anything in this country or bowl games or some kind of exhibition like that, we're all like, ooh, that's interesting. What's that about?
True. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I do like it from that perspective. I'm curious on that front. The Asian side is obviously the more interesting thing, especially mentioning a Japanese team. I think the mind immediately goes to NPB, but I really don't see why they would have any interest in this. Furthermore, I feel like I lose a little bit of interest if you're not getting Korea involved, although there was some talk of them being involved. But I think you need the 2 big dogs in the region before it even, seriously becomes a factor. I would assume the Taiwanese team would jump over here, right? That would be in the Asian region there. I assume they would, you would assume some type of Australian team here, but you got sort of the whole ABL thing.
Yeah. They got
yeah.
Yeah, that's one where that's been floating under the radar for a little bit. It should be worth a discussion in the near future.
Yeah, so there's that, and also I think you need another 1 or 2 like solid leagues in that region before you can start to take it as a legitimate best on best tournament here. You can make it work with 4, no doubt, but it loses a little bit of luster when there's only 4. I think you need 6 so that we have a real elimination stake, especially if you're just doing 1 final game. Then only the upper crust should make it.
Right. Crusty.
Yes. So that's kind of the way I look at that expansion plan. I'm curious to see how it's going to come to fruition. I think I may be a little fast on it. Although I do understand, like, while you're making progress, see where else you can go on it. I just may have liked to see the original one get a little bit more built up first.
I think that's fair. Yeah. But I mean, some of this kind of needs to almost, kind of like we're talking about, needs to happen in order for it to be built up, I guess. So, I don't know.
Fair.
Again, I don't envy the task. It's a tough undertaking, but there's a way to do it.
Like, I assume the end goal here is to make it like the European Football Champions League kind of a thing, but global.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's the big picture goal. I'm kind of like assuming the goal. I don't know. I'm trying to say it's not being what's the word? Sounding too like jaded to things. I'm like, I mean, the goal is to get Japan involved because we've seen the way Japanese baseball fans check in to things and the money that gets spent once they're involved. So, I mean, once you get Japan involved, you kind of have a lot of wiggle room and room to maneuver, in my opinion. So I think that's probably why that's the first reach out to be like, yes, we want Japan involved, whatever.
I mean, also then at that point, Japan becomes the shot caller in all of this too.
How you figure?
If they're the money now that's pretty much powering the whole operation here, they kind of get to dictate terms. Because what are you going to do? Tell the money no and have them leave, and not just leave with money, but leave with legitimacy too?
Yeah, fair enough. I understand. Yeah, I get that.
So if that's the plan here for the sole reason you're going after Japan, then, I mean, understand the deal you're making here. Now, I think it's still a good deal, having the legitimacy alone of bringing in even like the lower level teams in Japan are worthwhile. But, like, at least understand what you're signing up for.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, I'm rooting for it so much that I'm trying not to be super negative on it, but I'm also like, I'm just, no iteration of this thing has impressed me yet. So I'm like, okay. And there's the things that then start to shake my confidence are, again, the decision, like, put this during opening day / week or whatever for MLB. I'm like, all right. I'm sure it wasn't pick number one for dates, but I'm still like, man, that just feels like an unserious decision.
I think this year was also a tough one with the WBC being in there too. Because I want to say that they had this earlier in the past, but you really can't go later because now you're starting to, run it into things.
And I see how, again, it's not easy to fit that, but it's just, I don't know. It doesn't change the fact that it's like a tough look.
Fair. I just wish that instead of being a Sunday, it would be a Saturday for a championship game.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of places are going Sunday with championship games. Maybe that's more specific within baseball stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I do think it's weird. But I feel like I've seen it recently other places.
Like, I get why teams are doing that or leagues are doing that. It's kind of a dead day as far as what's on TV, especially without NFL there, and people are kind of conditioned to be like, I'm going to take it easy, I'm going to kind of lounge around, see what's on, and you could just kind of grab somebody in on that and be like, oh, cool, this is some kind of tournament thing, let me watch it, and then maybe make something of it. And if this is supposed to be your grand marquee, then yeah, that's what you probably want people to stumble into. I just always think, though, for the general in-person experience, which, obviously is something that's important for this and would translate to the actual television experience if you could feel that kind of energy come through, putting it on, say, a Saturday night where, yes, you're competing with other things, both entertainment-wise, like organized entertainment-wise and disorganized entertainment-wise, going out to a bar, things like that. I still think you'll get people that will choose to do this, and you'll get that energy up, and it'll be a better viewing experience as a result.
Okay, I can see that angle.
It's more or less a best foot forward type of thing, as opposed to an opportunity.
Which I see. I do see that that's what they're going for.
But, all right, that's enough on the BCL for now. We'll come back to them probably next week and then not talk about them for a year. any case, keeping it in the American Association, they have some broadcasting things here, and I feel, again, obligated to mention this because of my shill. I mean, marquee partner bracket. Yeah. They renewed their broadcasting deals that were previously existing, ones with Rise, NLSE, FTF, and SLVR. We got to stop with these abbreviations. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
And there's too many of them that I have no idea who the hell they are. It's a little...
Who are you people?
It feels like Patrick coming back to his rock. Bunch of people we don't know are all just here. We just see the eyes glowing in the dark.
I was just go back to the Tim Robinson. What did they do to us? As we were just like listing off abbreviations.
This cowboy wasn't made for the spreadsheets. There is a name that we do know, though, and that is Bally Entertainment, and they will serve as the featured BCL broadcast on apps and sites for them, exclusive, if I'm not mistaken, in that release. I don't believe it means that you exclusively can get BCL through Bally. I just think that Bally's going to be promoting it more. That's how I interpreted it. I could be wrong there, but I know you're able to get the BCL on other sites and other places, so I don't think they have exclusive broadcasting. And I feel like that would have warranted its own press release.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the correct read there.
Yeah.
Sorry, mild distraction as I just went to adjust to my chair. My shoulder did something absolutely horrific, throwing the entire Frontier League tryout into question, which happens multiple times a day. I move something on my body and go, am I making it to April 20th?
You'll make it. You just may not make it much past it. Any thoughts on Bally?
First? No. Other than the fact that, I mean, obviously, solid, consistent broadcast coverage, good. Anything else, bad. But I don't, as without any indicators of, how good a quality that will bring forward, I'm just like, okay, we'll see. Like, we'll see I'll have a lot more feelings on this in retrospect, I'm sure.
Only thing I have to say here, perhaps tickling the American Association's twine a little too much, is I continue to be impressed with how they're able to just keep pulling these sponsors out. And there's a bunch of kind of, I don't want to call them bullshit ones, but, smaller building block ones. Yeah, that sounds political. And then they pull out a real name, like Bally. They go ahead and have a bunch of smaller merchandising things that you never heard of, and then baseballism. And so I appreciate that they seem to go base it, home run, base it, home run. Now, of course, their field does have some bald spots in it. Chicago. But, we'll live with that. Everybody's got their own problems.
Maybe I do have a thought on the Bally thing. Bally, so is that FanDuel Sports Network now? Like, is that the same Bally? Okay, just making sure.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah, I just found that a little odd that it was being referred to that way. I think, they haven't exactly, what's the word? Cloaked themselves in glory of late, especially with baseball. So it's interesting to see that this is the move that they're making. That's more of a interesting eyebrow raise to Bally than to the league, but it's just, I guess, of note in my opinion.
All right. I don't know if I have a follow-up to that. But I do.
I was connecting dots over here. I was like, wait a minute. I was racking my brain like, they do mean, I assume so. And I was like, but it just came through weirder to me as it went on that they were not calling it FanDuel, they were calling it Bally.
There's a particular reason for that.
Yeah, interesting. And I wonder if they're still like somewhat a separate entity at some point on the chain or whatever. I guess they probably are.
I suppose.
Well, isn't this the most exciting content we do? Discussing the corporate structure of large, disgusting companies.
Let's move on from the American Association for now and instead go to American Association territory that isn't American Association territory. What do I mean by that? I mean that Belton, Missouri has agreed to fund a stadium study. Now, why does that matter? Why does it matter that they may build a stadium? Where is Belton, Missouri? These are great questions. Let's answer the last one first and the first one last. Belton is 4 hours away from the closest team in the league they're looking to get in, but they are only 30 minutes away from Kansas City, Missouri. They are along the, as you could guess, Kansas-Missouri border. Now, this sounds like American Association territory, doesn't it, Ryan? Yes, it does. I'll answer for you to save you the time.
Sure.
And he answers anyway, you son of a bitch. Any case, the reason why this matters is they have no intention, at least as of now, to play amateur ball. No, they intend to play professional baseball. And they intend to go to the Frontier League, it would seem, as they've had several meetings with Frontier League officials, namely Steve Tasler. I'll assume Chef showed up at some point because he's kind of the Forrest Gump of indie ball. He just kind of shows up places and makes an impact.
I love that.
He could text me about it. Don't DM me, Shep. I would never. But more importantly,
DMs are like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, I leave them sitting on the shelf for a while. Yes, any event. They went out to a Gateway Grizzlies game, saw the operation, talked extensively with Tasler. We linked an article in the show notes. You could go through it, read the quotes. That article also, I don't care if it has a byline with the person's name. It feels AI written. So I don't love that. But apparently AI is growing in every area, including independent baseball now. But any event, it is interesting. They seem interested in building a stadium. They got enough of approval to do the stadium study, which is costing them, I think, about $70,000. I seen that number thrown out in the article. And they're taking the proper steps. City Council seems a little bit divided, but yes, I find it very interesting that they're going to Missouri when the nearest team to them would presumably be Gateway, that is 4 hours away, or Mississippi, that seems to be at least 5 hours away. So this has to be the beginning of something else. But I don't know what that something else is. And I will also add this little element because it did creep into my head a bit. If/when the Royals hop the state line and quite clearly endanger the Monarchs' way of life, this kind of feels like the answer to that question, right? Where like, why would you go to the independent team when the major league team is across the street, literally? Obviously, price is the main reason there.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially with where the economy might be heading, friends.
But how expensive are Royal tickets?
I think I'm a good ball club right now.
That doesn't mean they're expensive.
Got you. 1 second. I'm looking at it. I think you're going to probably be underestimating it. Let's see. We'll go out of fairness. We'll hit the Friday night. And
is it opening day or not?
Nah, it's like opening week, but
okay. As long as it's not opening night.
It's next Friday night.
Okay.
1 sec. Cheapest ticket in the ballpark's $25.
That's not that bad.
Seems like average tickets probably sitting around the 60 mark. Let's just do a double check on. I always go like second from the top level behind home plate, just as a sort of baseline on a ticket price check. And $31.
Okay, that's not that bad. Especially, I assume Monarchs are around $15, $16 mark will be my assumption.
Yeah.
So it's about double that. I mean, yes, it adds up for a big family, but
yeah, I was gonna say. So the quick behind the scenes there is the selling point, yeah, sure, is tickets, but it's the extra
Expenses
stuff.
when you're
It's
in.
parking, it's the
Yeah.
food, it's things like that. If you can just be a little bit cheaper on every aspect of it, you can save a family of four like $100 for a night, like easily 100 actually. That's if they don't buy merch or anything.
I feel like most people don't buy merch though.
It depends if you're going with me, because typically I bribe my wife to go to the game by being like, you can go shopping at the team store. She's like, hell yeah.
Anywho, I still see that as being a major problem when you have a major league team literally in your backyard. Being 30 minutes away from said major league team though changes the math significantly.
Right, to the main point. Yeah, I do think that complicates things. I think, I don't know what Kansas going to do, man. There's a lot of weirdness coming from that organization seemingly all the time. A lot of questions about how successful are they really? Could they survive this? I don't really know. That is interesting. The other thing I'll point to is just because one league seems to have a foothold with a market doesn't mean they're going to keep it. Because once thing is, who knows? But like once things go public, like who knows who, and it's like, oh, I know someone over there, and then all of a sudden that conversation starts. We just saw how quickly that can happen with the Western Association and the Pioneer League just being like, yeah, we'll take that.
True.
So we won't get too far ahead. I will point out also, the Frontier League is not a league that's afraid of expansion, so I wouldn't be surprised and because travel seems to have been something that owners have been vocal about and cost cutting with that, I would expect they wouldn't be trying to expand into a market just because they can, just because they know about it. I would assume that there's a greater plan there. That just seems, they seem to be trying to fill gaps rather than make larger ones. So I think that's going to be a thing. I would expect to find out maybe more with that, but yeah, it is interesting kind of seeing the Frontier League really nudge up against the American Association's footprint in a way that they typically haven't. Like obviously across like the Midwest and Chicago area, there's a lot of it, but it is, they have their markets, the American has theirs, and they've had those markets sort of for a long enough time where it's, it seems understood. It's not an active war zone. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's interesting to have now this sort of development of turning to a new front, if you will.
A new frontier, some would say.
Very nicely done. I was going to go with unless the Frontier League is really planning to go Belton ass on the American Association.
I mean, you could have went ahead and said the Frontier League's really hoping that Belton's going to be a home run for them.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're not using the name enough.
But yes, I don't know too much about the actual market itself. It does kind of concern me that it seems like there is some contention on the city council, at least as is portrayed in the piece. Now, granted, they just keep citing the one councilwoman.
I caught that. I was like,
yeah. It could just be like it's one person that's not as gung-ho about it.
Yeah, that was my read, honestly, because local reporters, national reporters, whoever you are as a reporter, like pushback sells, drama sells. So it just sort of hit me when they got one person. I was like, oh, okay, who else? And it was just that person. I was like, I feel like the odds are if there was a second person who would be vocal about it, they would have found them, because it makes a good story. And the fact that they didn't, I was kind of like, well,
Plus, even the pushback was kind of mild. It was more or less like, look, I'm not really keen on doing this without fully looking over everything. And like accepting free stuff from these people that want to put a thing here feels kind of corrupty.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point too. Yeah, you're right. That was sort of the tone of it in reality.
Yeah, it felt more like a little bit of an issue with the process here, but not the result.
Yeah. So do you want, and this is where now it's getting sketchy on my memory of the article. Did they talk about, is that going to a vote, or how is it?
Vote already passed for the study. They're going to conduct the study, and once that's complete, then I assume that the council will convene, review the findings, whoever conducted it will probably make some kind of public presentation at a town hall meeting, and then we'll probably put to a vote afterwards to either move forward or stop the process there.
Okay.
Got my assumption.
Because her comment toward being process oriented would strike me a little more aggressively too if this was sort of depending on how much it circumvents like a public vote. That's the one that always sort of also raises the eyebrow. So it'll be interesting to watch. I'm always interested in the process of this stuff because it clarifies, the hurdles that other expansion efforts might run into. So
I would imagine it's probably like it'd be a public vote, but I don't believe the public would vote on it. I think it would
it's elected officials voting on it. Yeah.
Yes. Unless it would require a bond or something, then I imagine that would be probably put to a public referendum if it's going to need a bond to build the whole thing.
Yeah, fair point.
Especially if it's not like, but then again, if the council seems like they're pretty much on board with it and the contention was more or less the process on it and any sort of perceived favoritism towards certain council members, if that was the real qualm that this woman had with it, as opposed to, again, the stadium itself, then unless it's required by Missouri state law to do such a thing, or it exceeded a threshold where it would need to be a public referendum on it, they probably could just hold a vote to authorize those bonds in of itself. I mean, normally, if you're not obligated to do it, the only reason you're doing it is just for the public perception of like, look, the whole like, I'll let the public choose. Who do you want? And they go, we want Barabbas. And it's like, hey, no,
I was going to go that direction too.
Yeah, the Barabbas quandary.
Nice.
Fitting for Lent. So, yes, Missouri may be getting another baseball team. So. I think you do make a good point, though, about the Frontier League isn't as afraid about getting as incestuous among these previously designated territories among leagues. So, be curious to see here. And like I said about the Kansas City thing, I do think it's going to be an interesting development here because it is in the same general metro. And if the Monarchs stay and the Royals get a new stadium and this thing happens, that's a lot of ball in one area. Especially when it's two teams on similar levels. Like, not to say Frontier League can't exist in a higher tier league market. I mean, hey, the Jackals, the Boulders, the Miners have existed in what's essentially been an Atlantic League market for how long?
Right.
And frankly, some of them are doing better than some of those Atlantic League teams were doing.
Right.
Others, obviously situations change. But the point is, it can work.
Sure.
But I guess it is a wait and see thing, but it is curious to see how it develops. So we do have a Pioneer League review for you. As is tradition around here, they will probably be shortchanged.
Sabatron.
I will be honest with you. I do not care. If you listened at any point last year, you will know I've repeatedly said I do not watch the Pioneer League very often on account of they're tough to stream and they start their games at hours I'm going to bed at.
Despite that, as a loyal Red Pocket mobile customer, he does partake in quite a bit of the sponsorship.
I do enjoy my Pocket Rockets, yes.
I like we're not going to let that go.
That's their team name going forward. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat GPT, get a logo for them, do the whole thing.
Oh, dude, it's going to be a creamy logo, that's for sure.
Let's start with Oakland. That sounds fun.
Jesus.
73-23. Far and away the class of this league here. I will try to keep it on the field, but this is the Pioneer League, so at some point we will drift off the field. But yes, Oakland seems to be a competent baseball organization. Generally well-rounded, quality roster through and through. And when you only lose 23 ball games, it's hard to say at any point you really struggled. And I can't really recall any point they really struggled at. The Dodgers of the Pioneer League, if you would, which I'm sure will make all the Bay Area fans just thrilled that I compared them to the Dodgers.
Yeah, I get a feeling they're not going to be super excited, but hey, that's how it goes.
Why would Giant fans not be excited to be compared to the Dodgers?
What traumas could you possibly have touched on? Yeah, I'm just trying to. Again, it's still hard to pull up their schedule, but I think I have it. They did lose back-to-back games a few times. How about that? Yeah, 3 times they had back-to-back losses until the playoffs, I think.
How awful.
Yeah, no, kind of crazy. Pioneer League scheduling viewer is just unusable, my guy. It's so brutal.
Shit, you have to save us and get your stats site up and running quickly.
Every league, please just figure it out. Even I've come around a point streak, even though obviously we're not using them anymore, but I had at least evolved to being like, I can get what I need from this. Man, the Pioneer League site is so silly. And that's as somebody who, remember, I was doing the scoring for that fantasy league last year too. So like I was all over that site, man. There was some unhinged stuff, when it came to what you had to do to get the information you needed. And it's hashed open again here. Okay. I'm locking back in. Yeah. Oakland was absolutely insane. I mean, I keep sort of an ongoing ranking. I'll do some content on it eventually of basically every team in indie ball history. Oakland, without much contest, was the best Pioneer League team since they've gone to independent ball. I think the top 3 teams before that were Missoula Paddleheads teams. I think actually the 4th other one behind them might be this past year's Missoula Paddleheads team. So boy, does Missoula do it, but to far and away overcome that, especially as a second-year organization, second straight playoff run, that is a huge statement from Oakland. When it came to the offense, I mean, they're mid-pack in offense. They're like when it comes to runs scored, at least. When it comes to pitching, they have the lowest runs per game. That makes sense because they're in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. But the fact that their offense still manages to be around league average in this absolutely ridiculous run environment the league has while still playing at what I would call a fairly normal ballpark is actually pretty insane. So it's a statement on just how good that offense is. I don't even know necessarily who to harp on. This team is so loaded. I was going to be like, shout out to this guy. Shout out to most of this roster, actually. I mean, Chris Alamanza, it's really hard to not overly stare at the numbers he put up. Cam Buford, Davis Druick, Dylan Tatum. Like, I mean, those are all 1 dot and higher OPSs from last season. Yeah, like 1 through 9, this lineup was kind of crazy. And there wasn't much in the way of guys who were like, oh, like he's really fortunate to be playing the Pioneer League because he'd be, you know, if he was in a normal run environment, he would not be doing so hot. They just were all over it. And then the pitching staff was crazy. I mean, Carson Lambert, he had something like, I know he struck out over a batter an inning, but he was working in relief the whole time. I don't think they even used him as a closer because he used Connor Sullivan as their closer. I know that. So that's kind of funny just to have Carson Lambert with like a well below 1 ERA, not even being your closer. Connor Sullivan had a few rough outings, but generally was nasty again. Yeah, I mean, Noah Milliken, 14 starts last year at 2.12 ERA. That's in the Pioneer League. Again, even with the 7, on average by 7 home starts, is still pretty insane. Yeah, dude. Really solid. I mean, they had 4 pitchers below 4 ERA, I think, in the rotation. 3 pitchers. Yeah. Unreal. So Oakland's a horror show to deal with. And I think they're going to do it again this year. I mean, this isn't a preview, it's a review, but it doesn't seem like it's showing any signs of slowing down. He says foreshadowingly, forebodingly? Doesn't matter.
Potentially. Who's to really say?
Thank you.
All right. Well, we can talk about a team now that is more the same as they were in 24 and 25 and long before that. That's the Missoula Paddleheads, 64 and 32. Another good regular season, another short postseason stint.
Yeah.
Penny and Sock were crazy this year. Loved them. But generally, the team, again, continues to underperform and really is like the Texas A&M football of the Pioneer League. They could do whatever they want, but they will always regress to a certain point.
And their fans are secretly a cult, potentially. Word on the street. Know.
A lot of things happen out there in the hills of Montana.
Right. Adam Vogel finally getting a shot. Where did he end up? I mean, I don't want to get too off track here, but he landed anywhere.
I want to say like Chicago, right?
No, he went to Sox, but I'm wonder where he landed in their system. That's all.
Probably high A.
And interesting. I'll check on that later. But yeah, it's good to see him, one, repeat what he's been doing, and then also, then get picked up finally, which is awesome. Let me see. I mean, again, God, such a well-built team. Sorry, this took forever to load. Here we go. We're back. While Fogel, was doing Fogel stuff, Roberto Pena was an outright terrorist. I think we can agree. The numbers are hilarious. 95 games. He had a 358, 452, 789 slash and 46 home runs. He had 46 home runs in 460 plate appearances. So 1 in every 10 plate appearances. I think 1 in every 8 at bats roughly is what it worked out to. It's offensive and wrong. And I appreciate the hell out of that. Also, by the way, stole 36 bases. I always breeze over that because he get caught up on the power numbers and you don't even think about the fact that he also swiped 36 bags. Nick Klemp, Mike Rosario, Evan Slate. Yeah, a lot. Everybody was getting after it, seemingly. On the pitching side, the rotation was good and hard to watch at times. I mean, Dawson Day, Matthew Sox, great. Really just kind of fell off. And you see a 5 ERA and you kind of flinch. They had 2 of those. You had Brendan Beard and Ryan Wentz. But I mean, a 5 ERA within the context of this league isn't a nightmare. They really didn't have a 5 starter throughout a lot of the year. They were kind of trying to figure that one out. They ended up settling with Mike Peterson, who really, really struggled. I mean, just putting on a ton of guys, could not miss barrel. So I don't know what's going to go on with that, but that was not the age 26 season they want to see from him. But the bullpen had some solid pieces to it. I mean, Zach Lampton, Matt Taubenzi, I always mess up that name, Noah Owen. I wrote down, I think Taylor Smith, and then I said parentheses briefly. So I trust the fact that I was right about that because I didn't write any further stats. So I assume that meant he also pitched well the bullpen and didn't pitch many games, but I forget how many times he pitched.
Okay.
8 games. All right. Good job, Ryan.
Well, I don't have anything really to add to that. I think I set the stage for what people should expect from me today. So we'll keep it going.
Oh, Ryan's on it. Oh, God.
That's what we count on you for. Idaho Falls, 54-41. Improved. Very good year. And they made the final, if I don't recall incorrectly. And, honestly, they kind of a little bit of a squad. They kept around for a large chunk of the year. I mean, you got, Missoula, I believe, in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. This is what they had.
They took out Missoula.
Yeah.
And they took out Missoula, with authority, by the way. I mean, they
did lose
the middle game, but that last game, the 22-6 win in the third game of that series was crazy.
So I'll give them credit for that, as much as I'll give Missoula blame for allowing it. Mm-hmm. But still, finishing second from a team that we didn't expect too much of, it's a good year.
Yeah, I mean, again, the run environment's the run environment, but the offense, even with the consideration of the run environment, the offense was crazy this year. Mm. They led the league in runs scored. Ben Rosengard, he had a 4 every time. 463, 558, 716 slash in 66 games. That'll work. Trevor Rogers, he had 28 homers. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys with double-digit home runs. That will play. And they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys with an OPS over 1 dot. So, and Jacob Shanks had a 999 OPS. So, super disgusting. On the pitching side, though, they did actually kind of bring it, just, not in a way where it was like, oh, here they come, but they made it work. They had some consistent guys, and they do it. There was I'll say it this way. They had a firm understanding of what they had to do concerning the offense that they had, which means they had guys who could throw a bunch of innings. Gary Grosjean threw a lot of innings. He had a 5.45 ERA, but that will work when you have that kind of offense. Shane Spencer over 100 innings as well in 17 starts. He had a ERA like over 6.5, but when you have that offense, it works. Nathan Hammerling, more of the same. He threw 84 innings, 6.4 ERA, but it works. So they kind of just made it happen with the strengths that they had and just didn't let. I think in the Pioneer League, you see a lot of teams are like, we score 10 runs a game. We also allow 12. And the Chuckers didn't necessarily fall into that trap. It wasn't pretty, but they were getting it done. I mean, they didn't have a consistent bullpen arm below a 4.5 ERA, really. But hey, with the heavy innings from some starters and the offense they had, they made it work.
Yeah. Ogden, 51-39. Felt like a team that was really powered by the star power, I suppose. Mm-hmm. I believe they were the last playoff team, and a good, not great team, but still, it felt like they were the last of the upper tier.
Yeah. They had the C's team. They had the Christopher Sargent, Connor Bagneski, Christian Hall as sort of the anchor of the lineup for most of the season. They all put up numbers. They combined for like 60, 75 home runs, something between three of them. So that will help in the heart of the order for sure. And then beyond that, I mean, they did have like Damian Stone had a really good year. Behind them, kind of got to go to Cole Jordan, who was good, 24 years old. So, he delivered for, young guy in the league, making it happen. On the pitching end, that's, they still had a really good offense. So again, it's a little bit more the same with Idaho Falls, like Chase Chapman, and like Cole Stasio, I think were the only two starters they had with a sub-6 ERA, which again plays, but they didn't have quite as dominant an offense as Idaho Falls did. And they didn't have quite the backup. Like even while Idaho Falls didn't have any high-end bullpen arms, they at least weren't frequently having to bring in random guys to finish out the rotation on a given week, which, I mean, I think Ogden had 14 different guys start a game. And the bullpen itself kind of struggled outside of like Justin Jones, who had a good year. But other than that, you're seeing everybody with a 5 or above ERA, essentially. Yeah.
Which, I mean, also in fairness, in a world that's already starved of pitching, and then going to, I mean, a place where pitching isn't going to be great. Nowhere in the Pioneer League is pitching great. There's places that aren't bad, but just, I'm going to qualify them as great. But in any case, it's always going to be tough to find that pitching. So betting on the offense when building a team is probably the right call.
Sure. And I do want to mention a shout out to like Nick Cardinal. That's the one I jotted down because he threw a lot. He made 43 appearances, almost showing up every other game. And I think that was his first season pitching since 2023. It might have been come back from injury. I don't know. But still, he came out and he delivered. So, and he had a 5 ERA basically. So a 5.04, hit 12 saves. So, he delivered what they needed. So it'd be interesting to see if he continues to develop a little bit because there's something there. Struck out a good number of guys. You just gotta find the zone, big dog. That's the only thing.
Going to Yuba, 50-46 record. It's only slightly worse than Ogden was, but it felt like a complicated year for them on a lot of fronts. They had some good individual talent, but as a team, I don't know, they felt like less of a unit than Ogden was, and it's kind of why I put them more with the next group of teams that I qualify as the mid-brigade.
You remember they had that absolute horror show happen against Oakland, where Yuba was very much in it, and then it was just very much not. Let's see. It was, I think they were racing up against Oakland, and we were like, okay, here we go now. Like, this is something. And then they took game 1 from Oakland and then lost 11 in a row. I think they lost 11 straight. It was a 12-game home-and-home set. Yeah.
That'll break your back.
Right. And Yuba was good. That's what it was. Yuba was good up to that point, but they had some inconsistency. But it was one of those things where we were like, we're going to learn a lot about them now. And they had won some games where kind of set it up. I think it was was this the second half? It was right at the start of the second half. They didn't even play Oakland the first half. That's right. And then we're like, okay, let's see. Let them make it. I think they were close in the first half, but couldn't make it happen. And then it was like, all right, like now's our opportunity. And all of a sudden they just got buried by Oakland. That's right. Oh my God. I forgot about that. That was so hard to watch. And it was like a lot of bad timing. It was like guys weren't available, or I think that maybe an injury or two, maybe a guy signed. I forget what it was. I just remember they were short on roster options, and it was just blatantly obvious.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of start and put all of these teams into one category. There's 3 of them here that go into this category. And it's the mid brigade. 2 of them are 500, and one of them was 2 games below 500. So like mid by record definition. That's Boise, Rocky Mountain, and Billings. In the case of Boise, a lot of RBIs, some pretty standout individual performers. We'll get to them individually in a second, but that's what you look there. Rocky Mountain, I feel like the record's also a byproduct of the fact that off the field it was a shit show. So it's hard to really say too much about them. Was that what they really were? Were they really a 500 team, or were they an above 500 team that was contending with a lot of different issues and just couldn't find their footing? And then with Billings, again, kind of in the Boise mold of some good pieces there. Maybe there's something to build off of going forward, but as a unit, what they produced this year was just a very pedestrian effort.
Yeah. I don't even know. I guess whatever. I was going to say I probably would have grouped the teams that aren't coming back, but it's kind of weird to say, I'll start Rocky Mountain because I don't really know what to say about it, because it's weird to be like, well, that happened and now it won't. Sam Linscott was good. Dane Tofflin's interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. That's Rocky Mountain. I mean, I love to. It's like I'm not trying to shortchange everybody for Rocky Mountain, but it's so hard to make anything of some of these like ballparks. And when everyone's now scattered to the wind, it's a little tough. And I hate that for them, but also it's tough to really assess what's going on there. Nick Powers is interesting on the mound. I think he's fascinating. He just needs to miss bats a little bit, but interesting. I like a guy who survives in the Pioneer League with adequate numbers while also like striking out only like less than 7 per 9. Because I feel like most of the guys who survive in the Pioneer League on the mound are guys who are just getting punchies and keeping the ball out of the air. And he's like, nah, you hit it. And it kind of works. Like, all right, why not? So that's fun. Nick Powers makes me laugh. Some of those games are ride with him where it's a stressful outing, but getting it there. To Boise. Yeah, I don't know. Boise has never found any momentum, I felt like. I'm double checking my memory of them by just taking a peek at their schedule, but that's how it sticks. Like that's right. It's coming back to me now, because they like started their season by losing 5 and then they won 7. And then that's just kind of how the season went. It was just trading wins and losses back and forth the entire time. And you might be like, well, technically, Ryan, that's everybody. Yeah, but like this was special. This was multiple stretches of winning 3 or more games and then immediately losing 3 or more games. It was just insane. I mean, the stretch of losing 5 to Missoula, Idaho Falls, Grand Junction, winning 5 over Grand Junction, losing 5 to Boise, just like ping-ponging back and forth on big swings. Like that was crazy. Yeah, they didn't, and that was a depth question. And you could kind of tell it was, if they got a good couple of games rolling where they didn't have to dip too deep into pitching options and things like that, they could set themselves up for a good week. Like if Graham Edwards had a good outing, Cam Dayton, Jacob Hughes, if they could eat some innings early, they had some potential. But if they couldn't do that and they had to really lean too hard on their 2 or 3 really reliable bullpen arms early in a set of games, it was just a long week. I mean, they used 48 guys on the mound this year. Like they were searching for options. I think that's how you get those long losing streaks and winning streaks. And then Billings, I mean, more of the same. You just run out of options. Their offense was not very impressive. Jack O'Dowd was very good, but other than that, it was just not, compared to the rest of the league, they weren't really doing all that. Some of the pitching was really good, but they didn't keep like CJ Collier was a great bullpen option. Justin Fuson was very good in rotation. Hudson Bonkel, great in rotation. Julian Garcia, more the same. But beyond that, the offense just really didn't back them up very much. So, yeah, they just couldn't get much momentum on that end either.
Continuing forward, Grand Junction, 41-55. A bad team. Nothing more here to say. Misery off the field. Another team that isn't going to be coming back.
Yeah.
So, obviously keeping it on the field, just looking at the 25 season, there's just not too much here. There's a couple of younger guys that I'm curious about, 21-year-olds, 23-year-olds, those guys that I think could develop a bit more, could be interesting there. I don't know what their future looks like at higher levels, but I do think on the independent level, talking broadly, of course, there is something there to watch.
I just want to dip into the absolute insanity that happened in Grand Junction this year because we didn't talk about too much because it's hard to hone in. There were so many actively burning fires in the Pioneer League this year with NOCO. And then obviously we're covering 50 plus teams. It's hard to really drill into some of the craziness that was going on. But Grand Junction, seemingly they did not have the bandwidth for much in the way of transactions. So the stuff that happened was just kind of weird with them. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys get 80 or more games in the lineup. Altogether, they had 7 guys getting 74 or more games of action in. I mean, they put up numbers, but against Grand Junction, so you better type of thing. That was just an oddity for sure. But the pitching staff, the stuff that happened on this pitching staff, man, was crazy. I mean, we've got like the number of innings pitched by guys with absolutely unhinged stat lines was one thing. So the top 2 guys this is maybe my favorite weird indie ball stat from last year. So we take the top 2 guys in pitching appearances for Grand Junction last year. Number 1 was Reese Miller, who was my favorite pitcher in the league last year, throwing absolute frisbees at people. He got into 46 games. He had a 1.33 ERA, had massive stretches of not giving up any runs. He only allowed 2 home runs in 54 1/3 innings of work for Grand Junction. Did some heavy work pitching at home, struck out 13.7. I'm so excited to see what he's doing next. So then the only guy on Grand Junction who threw in more games than him was Aiden Alger, who threw 51 games, and he had a 12.6 ERA, which doesn't even seem possible. I don't think I've ever seen a double-digit ERA in that many appearances. I'm not going to dunk on the guy. I'm just saying like that kind of explains what was happening in Grand Junction, where they were like, this is just how this is going to be.
But is that big enough sample size to make a judgment on this kid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm good for a second chance on anybody, but Grand Junction had 1, 2,
how many wins
3,
did he have?
4, 5, 6, 7 different guys make more than double-digit appearances who also had double-digit ERAs. Of the 35 different players who stepped on the mound for Grand Junction this year, of those 35, 8 of them had ERAs below 10. So that's how you get a team ERA of 10.25 if you're curious. So that's that on Grand Junction. Closing that chapter. Good luck, Pecos League. Actually rooting for Grand Junction as a market, by the way. It's just that somehow finishing behind them was Glacier. What the hell is that about?
Yeah, I was about to say, Glacier and Great Falls, you two are up next. A 40-56 and then a 34-62 record, respectively. I kind of put them both in this like regular bad, just bad. And
no offense, which is insane.
Especially in this league. They're both kind of just afterthoughts to me. I don't really think much about them this year. I will say Great Falls had a couple guys that I liked. But yeah, overall, I didn't really even think about them. They were just kind of like run of the mill bad. Nothing overly scandalous about it.
I thought a bit about Glacier because I thought it was interesting. They had the second best runs allowed per game in the league, and they still couldn't make it work because they had the worst offense in run scoring, which is fascinating. The other thing, I'm just going to lay it out there, we hear a lot of good stuff about Glacier. Hear the ballpark's beautiful. Hear the The fan base seems to enjoy the place. I'm just laying it out there. Keep an eye on Glacier. Everyone I talk to is like, weird org. Like, a little bit of weirdness at the top there. Just keep it in mind. I've heard there. Don't be surprised if there's some headaches coming from them down the road. That's all I'm saying on that one. Don't know if that's financial. Don't know if that's just going to be in general business practice wise, but I wouldn't be surprised. What I'm saying. On Great Falls. Yeah, I mean, AJ Fritz offensively kind of stood out. Wyatt Cameron out of the bullpen. Other than that, I mean, they kind of struggle. Mitchell Grannon also was kind of interesting on the bullpen. I could see him finding something somewhere. He was young. He's 22 years old, and he threw 35 innings with a 4.11 ERA. So I'd be interested to see what his future holds. But other than that, didn't have a lot of thoughts on the Voyagers.
Okay. Last team here. Owls. /Travel team.
Yes, indeed.
23-71, as good as Oakland was, they were bad.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just kind of the worst possible outcome here. I mean, again, trying to separate on and off the field here, but this is a situation where you just strictly can't. For as much as like you want to rag on the overall team performance, given everything that was going on around, I don't understand how a professional team can keep that together on the field when you're going from one ballpark to then a city park, to then rooming with somebody else, and just all that goes on with it. It's a very difficult environment to find any success in, and that's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where there's, like Grand Junction, sort of some exceptional stats on the pitching side of things in particular. Nothing you wouldn't expect. There were a couple guys who stood out. Elaine Lopez, I really liked out of their bullpen. If he cannot walk everybody, there's a chance that he could be something. Jose Ochoa showed some signs, but boy, did he walk a lot of guys as well. Other than that, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure I think everybody who played for this team deserves a second shot somewhere because who knows? I mean, we've seen some guys.
Maybe with the Pocket Rockets.
Insanely bad numbers for like the Apollos and for the Road Warriors over time, and then come back and do well for other teams in normal situations. So whatever, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm glad it's over for them.
Yeah. Mercifully over.
I'm glad that certain people are in legal turmoil. Feels good.
That was our Indie Ball After Dark review of the Pioneer League. I feel like I really kept in theme with our Pioneer League coverages here. So probably a New Year's resolution goal to do a better job covering them. But that's the 26th problem.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to do that as well because I need to get my life together a little bit.
Well, that's a problem for May. Right now is a problem for me, and that is I got to get through this outro, and then I got to go to bed because I've recorded the last probably about 10, 15 minutes with my eyes closed. So that tells you where I'm at currently. All right, you want to go ahead and do some plugs so that way we can get out of here?
Yeah, Indie Ball Nation on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, podcast platforms, and maybe I'll actually post something. I'm not going to make any promises.
Oh, yeah. Indie Ball Report on all platforms, Indie Ball Report, or Indie Ball Pod on Twitter. Oof, that was rough. But yeah, we're wrapping up our March Madness tournament. That'll actually be wrapped by the time this goes up. And with the announcement post will be the winner of our March Madness bracket. Going to have a couple other things left in March, and then once we get into April, we'll probably slow down the posting. Won't be every day, but I'm going to try to go every other day. It'll be a little bit more achievable, I think, especially with the season starting up, and we'll be trying to find some fun new things to do. So keep an eye on that. And last little shout out here. I'm going to need Kyle to actually upload the most recent Rail Cat pod onto the major platforms here. I do not watch podcasts on YouTube. It's not a personal thing. I just don't particularly care to watch a podcast. I like to listen to it when I'm running or working out or whatever it might be. So downloading is a lot easier for that goal. And I know it's been out, and I know the time of the promo schedule, so I'm very intrigued by it, but it is not on Amazon Music or Spotify yet, and I'd very much like to listen to it. And I believe he's also rebranded as a 902 Cats or something like that. It's a more encompassing thing for him. Just
219.
That sounds right. Like I said, I'm so tired. I don't have my eyes open.
Do the shout out right. Hold on. We can do it. Looking for it.
Please be 902. I need this to be right. I need the dyslexia to be defeated.
219 Cats.
Damn it.
219 Cats.
I blame undiagnosed dyslexia. Because it cannot be me.
Shout out to one of the only podcasts that are more niche than us. Saw our podcast and went, that's a bit too broad for me.
I genuinely wish I would have done that. I'm going to stop before I get myself into issues. That's the pod. See you next week. Till then, don't forget to play ball.